Let's take some moments and look at the structure that we call our pelvis, right? We have two pelvic bones, one on either side, and at the back we have spine, which is the sacrum, of course, which forms the back of the pelvic basin, we can say, but it is not a structure that is of the pelvis. It's actually a core structure where the pelvic bones on the sides are peripheral structures. So both in terms of our initial development, embryologically, we had core as its own functional entity, and then we had peripheral body coming around from the two sides. In terms of our energetics, we understand how spine is very much core, and it's the home, of course, of the central nervous system, place we think about living. I have, I, I am at my core, right? And this is our periphery. These are the things we do things with. So it's very important when we look at our pelvis that we also differentiate its aspects. How do we move in such a way that we can keep a sense of differentiation, not just in our physicality, but also in our consciousness and our embodied experience of our bodies? Um, we can do it because we notice this differentiation and we can find how to articulate the peripheral body without just cranking the core along. So there's some very important aspects to this. One is this disc at the front, the pubic disc. It's called the symphysis because that's where the two pubic bones join. So they call that the symphysis. But in reality, it's two joints. It's a joint with one pelvic bone on one side, and a pelvic bone on the other side. And because it's a disc, it has this kind of resilience and the possibility of any kind of movement. It's not a specific direction because the disc it's a little bit not squishy, it's very strong, but we can slide on it in a way that articulates right up here at the front central place in our pelvis. So there's this disc in the front. That's a primary disc joint. Of course, we have the leg bones articulating into the acetabulum here. And then at the back, we have the oh so famous sacrum, ilium, sacroiliac joints. And there at the bottom, just to remind you, is your little coccyx. Now, couple important things. In yoga, I imagine it's still happening out there in the world based on who I see coming into classes, that we have a tendency, strong tendency in our practice to overmove the sacroiliac joints. These are designed to be very strong, stable joints. Yeah, they have to move. They move in walking and so on and so forth. But if the pubic disc is frozen, these joints take way too much movement. And what we find is that a lot of those of us who practice for a long time will develop a sacral iliac dysfunction to a large degree or less, where that bone just isn't quite stable. It just seems to have you get a little pain here, a little pain there, or worse, bad pain. Why? Well, one of the reasons is that we don't have, because we don't know this movement is possible here, we don't have enough movement at the pubic disc to create a resilient flow of forces through the pelvic bones up into the torso, so on and so forth. Our tendency in our movement, since we don't know this moves, is to move around the sacrum. I'm keeping my pubis pretty stable here, and I'm rolling around my sacrum. I feel that right away because I did a lot of torquing around my sacrum in my life. So instead, I'm going to come in and up with the pubic disc right in the center, and then I'm going to allow that to move as I move. I'm allowing it to gently squeeze into itself as I turn my attention. So I've created a fulcrum of movement at the pubis rather than a fulcrum of movement, primary fulcrum of movement in the sacroiliac joints. So that's structurally one of the important things. And then, of course, the other is the how we perceive ourselves within that. Like, who am I in this? Well, your spine wants to have option, it doesn't want to just go like, okay, right? We know that already. Okay, big deal. This just in. I knew it, but I didn't really feel it until uh, now. This just in. Your buttock bones, these things, the ischial tuberosities, the bottom here of your pelvic bones, this bony knob is in your front pelvis. It is not in your back pelvis. This is a big misinterpretation. You see how I've anteriorly tilted my pelvis a lot and gotten my buttock bones into the back. And if I can come into what is an actual situation of pelvis in, how do I hold it? Pelvis in, I'm going to hold it this way. Pelvis in, suspended here. What I find is the buttock bones. Whoa, they're in the front pelvis, along with the pubic disc and along with the acetabulum, the joint for your legs. So in sitting, we would like to have these babies right under us. Right under us is not back here, lift the buttock flesh and draw it back. No, it is right there, right under you. And what's been the most common way to tell people to stop the anterior tilt of their pelvis? Well, I'll tell you what the most common way has been for years is to tell them to tuck the tail. Well, your tail is not your pelvis. If we tuck our tail in the endeavor to even up our pelvis right over the earth so that our legs, our continuity of our legs can go down, if we tuck our pelvis, we are in very serious danger of hardening the whole spine. This, by the way, is the image of a pelvis that is way far tilted forward, right? You see the buttock bones are way toward the back, all the way at the level of the coccyx. This is just wrong. And all of the anatomical images that, not images, not in print, but all of the skeletal structures that so far at this moment you can buy are wrong. So, at least here in the United States, I don't know about everywhere, the buttock bones are forward, and this arc in the lumbar that we love needs to be there. We don't want to flatten it out in order to get the buttock bones under us. All right? So, tucking the tail has very serious ramifications all the way up the spine, so it's hardening to core in general. And what else does it do? Well, it hardens the entire pelvic floor. So you can see here how the coccyx and the pubic symphysis, if you draw a line straight across, right, and then straight across from buttock bone to buttock bone, you have basically 4 quadrants here of your pelvic floor. And by tucking the tail, we literally harden the muscles and we cut off the access of our spine, not just our vertebral spine, but our energetic spine from the root chakra. So it's a lot to play with, lots to play with, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Each pelvic half goes with its own leg. Each leg and pelvic half articulate through the pubis to the other leg. So it's in the front that your legs articulate one to the other. Each leg into the pelvis goes to get to the head, goes in through the spine. Back body takes you to the head. Front body takes you to the other leg. So we get this articulation and differentiation, front, 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 and then back, back to the head, from my leg, through my sacrum to my head, from my leg, through my pubic disc to the other leg. Utilize them both. You end up finding core movement. It's a lot of fun. So enjoy and thank you. Thank you for watching.